Okay, guys, we're going to get started. I don't know what happened to this side of the room, but it'll work. I can hear you better. Okay, good. If you don't know where you are, this is Indy Senior Living Series, and it happens every second Thursday from 10 to 11:30. We keep shifting the room around because we're experimenting, because it's been a little bit inconsistent with attendees live, and we're trying to also Zoom, and we're streaming live. So those of you that are on Zoom, welcome. For our speakers, we're just going to act like this is another person. This is the Zoom camera. And then audience, this camera is on you. So you want to wave to our Zoomers there and just say hi. Yeah. Okay, so this is really laid back. We've got food in the back. We have door prizes at the end. Restrooms are straight out with water too. And then our sponsors are all here on the side. This is similar to how we had it set up at St. Luke's. So we're hoping that this way works. But this event cost about $20,000 a year to put on, and we cannot do it without these sponsors here on the side. Most all of them are people that we have worked with side by side with mutual clients. So we vetted them out, and it's the same with our panelists here that we're going to hear from. So make sure you go by and talk to them. They've got goodies, they've got specials, and all kinds of things. Okay, so my mom is saying we forgot the drawings for the price sheet, so they're going to get those, and we'll get those to you. In front of you, you have our questions that we're going to ask our panelists. You have a list of all of the sponsors and their contact information. On Zoom, if you're on Zoom, Sarah's going to put a Google Drive link that you can get all the handouts that we have here in person. So some people are in the waiting room coming in. All right. Did I miss anything on the announcements? I don't think so. We're going to just dive right in because I anticipate you guys having a lot of questions, and our contractors that are here today, I'm sure they're on a tight schedule and they probably have a lot to say too. So I'm going to start. You guys have the mic. Just pass it down. Hopefully. We're going to have the panelists introduce themselves. Oh, mine's going in now. We'll have the panelists introduce themselves, tell who you are, what company you're with, and just maybe a bit about what makes you different than your competition.
Good morning. My name is Christina. I work for HomeSense Heating and Cooling. We service Indianapolis, Carmel, and Fishers. Obviously, it's just HVAC, so it's heating, cooling, indoor air quality, that kind of thing. And I think that we set ourselves apart just a little bit differently than our competition, because it's not big and fancy, and it's hard to make HVAC popular. It's a heavy investment. So we pride ourselves on referrals, not big commercial, not big on what's the word? I don't know, flashy. We like to think of you guys as neighbors. So I think that that's what sucks.
Hello, my name is Nathan Traylor with Michaelis Corporation. The Michaelis Corporation's been serving Central Indiana for over 36 years. We specialize in fire and water restoration, roofing, basement foundation waterproofing, radon, as well as remediation for biological. So usually if there's a situation where you have a tree or vehicle impact or water loss, a fire, unfortunately, we would be the individuals that come in, handle the board up, your contents, and then put it back together. We work with your insurance on those processes. We do also handle retail aspects, basements, foundation, waterproofing, as well as roofing. A lot of that stuff, depending on if it's covered by insurance, which we can navigate that with you and kind of help you through that process. So that's me.
I don't know why our mics are going in and out.
I'll try it without.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Christian Strnad with Iron Gate Inspection Services. Obviously, we do home inspections. What sets us apart is we're the best. I know it's easy to say, but we basically perform the most thorough inspections in the area. I know that because we're 100% referral, and we have generations of people that say, hey, you inspected my dad's house, my sister's house, my aunt's house. It's just pretty flattering, but we enjoy what we do. Nice to meet you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I would say, I can't say enough about all of these contractors. I've worked with Christian since I even started in real estate, so 2007. HomeSense is in my house regularly, and Michaelis has been in my crawl space, so there you go. Well, both of you guys have actually. All right, so you can just start in with, since you have the mic, Christian. The question number 2, what are common repairs or maintenance that you find often overlooked? So from an inspector's perspective.
Every house is a little different, but whether you're in a new house on a slab or an 1800s house, generally it stems to our people down here, people neglecting their heating and cooling, number 1, right down to the simple stuff like changing filters. I would say that probably the number 1 thing you can do in your house is change a filter in your air handler. And the reason being, it lets flow go to the system. And if you have airflow going, you're not going to burn up your air conditioner. You're not going to burn up your furnace. If you have no airflow, dirty filter, you can burn up a good system in 7 years. I mean, it's just a fact. The other thing, and the other number 1 thing is water control. And I know that's a multifaceted, subject, but basically, again, whether you're in a new house or in an old house with a cellar and a crawl space, if you have a good roof drainage system where water's getting from the roof to the gutters and the gutters are getting to downspouts and the grading is going away from the house, whether you're on a slab or a crawl, you're going to keep everything dry. Once you start with that, everything else is a piece of cake.
Yep, pass the mic.
Don't know if it's working. I would also agree with that. The things that are out of sight, out of mind, crawl spaces, attics usually are things that homeowners never get into. So they never have them annually inspected or just every couple of years. So a lot of times when an inspector goes in there, they find stuff that's been an ongoing thing for years and years and years, especially with critters and animals that may or may not be in there. So those are big, usually very expensive issues, especially if they've gone unchecked for a number of years. Piggybacking on what he said, whenever we do with water management for crawl spaces and basements, the downspouts are huge. So if they're dumping right up against the house, there is no grade, the elbow popped off and it's just flushing in, it's going to cause foundation issues. It's going to cause moisture in that crawl space or that basement. And then it's going to, mold or biological growth that may or may not be checked. So again, grading, pushing all that away. Attics, crawl spaces are usually the things we get called out on inspections for real estate when we go out there, because it's stuff that, again, nobody goes up there, nobody looks. It's there's blinders on. So
Lots of people taking notes. So yeah, you've got space here to take notes and pens and everything. If you need more space, move it over.
Yeah, this isn't working. So they made it very easy for me. Makes sure your heating and cooling. Like, I'm guilty of it, and I've worked in the industry for 10 plus years. I forget to change the filter. It is the biggest mistake that you can make because it runs all year long. It's similar to not having an oil change in your car. You drive it to Florida 2 times a year, come back, never change the oil. It's probably going to blow up on you. And that's a pretty big investment. So is your heating and air conditioning. You're paying anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. And by not maintaining it, having it inspected, changing your filter, making sure that you're, that you clean your air ducts, your dryer vents, things like that. All of those things kind of go into play on maintaining that and, kind of keeping that investment up to par. to provide more of an investment, return on your investment than anything else. And my roofing and HVAC, I think, are two huge things that you can do to increase that.
I would also add to that. We do remodels, so kitchen and bathrooms usually have the highest, curb appeal in terms of selling a property, flooring as well, and then freshening up with new paint, which we do all that as well. And then
Try to use that for the Zoomers.
Gotcha, sorry. Kitchens and baths, flooring, painting, and then the other thing is roofing as well. Roofing is a big thing. It's the shell of the home. It keeps it dry. So in terms of replacing the roof, if say the roof is $20,000, there's a lot of fly-by-night contractors, and I hate to use that come out of state, that say if you spend 20 grand, you can list your house $20,000 higher. Every appraiser I've talked to says that's not really true. And so you'll get some return on investment on that, but you're not going to get that full amount. It does provide a peace of mind and a selling point for that, especially if you're dealing with the basement and there is stabilization foundation issues, and we fix it. List that company, list that warranty that's been around. That way there's backing behind that. That does provide, a good return whenever you're trying to negotiate with the seller. So, and the potential buyer. So.
Okay, so I think they covered most of it, so I'll try and answer this in a little different way. Yes, and yes, but I feel like any money you put into your house, we've been doing a lot of studies lately, and it seems that you can get up to 80% of even all new window installations in your house back to you when you sell, making your house marketable. The market that we're in currently is way different than even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. There were very finite and specific areas you would want to put into your house. I mean, to sell it, people would put in the kitchen bath, make it real marketable. Now what's happening, and it's going to continue, is basically outdoor living spaces, because people want to be at home. And it's almost like growing up in the Great Depression. People for their entire lives were kind of frugal because of an event that happened when they were children. I experienced that with my grandfather. He was just that way his whole life. People aren't going to forget about not wanting to be up in everyone's business at the public pool and other areas. So they're going to continue to put hardscape pools, outdoor stuff in. But frankly, with the market the way it's going, any good you put towards your house, whether it be the heating and cooling, the functional things like the roofing and structure, and just the upkeep and mechanics, as well as the cosmetics, is kind of a bonus. So know your house and know where to put the money.
Got a phone call. Okay, yeah, all of that is good information, and Christian's right. We used to say, I don't know what's happening with the mics. We used to say bathrooms, kitchens, master bedroom, and some of that would be true to a certain extent. Outdoor spaces are really important, like what Christian said. In a seller's market, and with most of our senior clients, we are actually we're not doing much of anything in terms of getting it ready to sell right now. Now that could change, and that's already starting to change. But if somebody's living in their house 40, 50, 60 years, they have 3 generations worth of stuff, deferred maintenance, and you're having health issues and you're overwhelmed already, and you're trying to figure out where you need to move into a safe environment, we're not going to give you a list of things that need to be done to your house, because it's going to open up a can of worms. Now, if you're healthy and you're living in your house and you are preparing to sell, maybe, in the next 3 to 5 years, what our panelists have said could be great things for you to do and take care of, because you're not so overwhelmed. You're just kind of in the thinking and preparing process. So it in some ways it kind of depends on where you're at in in terms of getting ready to sell. Questions about that? Yes.
So we remodeled our kitchen over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time, the salesman, his comment was, how much do you think you would get for your home now? And we set a price, and he said, my rule of thumb, not remember, this is over 10 years ago. My rule of thumb is if it's not worth over $150,000, If you want tile floor and you want slate countertops, that's you. But with $150,000 house, you're not gonna get your money back. So we went with vinyl that looked like tile, and we went with laminate that looked like, so I didn't know if that was still kind of, what's your house worth and how much.
Yeah.
Really, does that make sense? 'Cause
Yes.
mine's flat, so.
It makes sense. You don't want to over upgrade. So you do want to think about the average sales price in your neighborhood. And if you're doing it specifically to sell, you don't want to over upgrade because you're not going to get back dollar for dollar. If you're doing it because you're going to live there and enjoy it for 10 years, that's a whole other conversation. Then maybe you do, do the fancy countertops and cabinets. Yes, sir.
What do you think about then these ads that you see on TV and radio that sell as is?
Like we buy your house, where investors will buy your house. Well, that's a whole other panel.
I know.
The long and short of it is, if you sell right now to an investor and you don't put your property online for more eyes to see, you're gonna leave about $75,000 on the table and sometimes more. We've actually tracked the numbers. We have other realtors who have tracked the numbers. We have forums on Facebook. They talk about it all the time. It used to be about 40 to 50, and now it's even higher. If you think about an investor, their main goal is to net the most amount of money on their deal, on their flip, or their, whatever they're doing with that property. And so a really good investor is going to be super tight on their numbers. And the first place they're going to start is by getting a house for really cheap. So I get text messages, postcards, phone calls, everything. And yeah, we're all getting them because inventory is short right now. So you got to imagine it's short for investors too.
They're counting on you not knowing
Yeah.
what
Yes.
your house is worth.
Yes.
And sellers don't know what their house is worth. And they know that it's a seller's market and it's the top of the market and we can sell it for a great price right now. But you don't, like a lot of people, when we actually tell them what the comparable sales are and what we would list our house for, they'd be surprised at a number that an investor gives them because it sounds high to them. But if a realtor actually came in and went over the comparable sales, they're typically floored right now. Now that could change.
Yeah.
But right now in this market, so when an investor does give a number, they're counting on you not knowing. And typically people just don't know how much their houses are actually worth, because it's unbelievable even to people in this industry. People who have worked in the real estate industry 30 years tell us we've never seen a market like this.
Well, I saw, for example, a house diagonally across the street got a huge amount of money. And I thought, what?
Yeah.
And Tucker sold it. I'm not name dropping, but that's who sold the house. And it was a postcard. This guy's bragging, okay, he sold this house. And I happen to know the man that lived there. He's got major health problems going on. He's a widower. And I thought, man, if that's true, I guess I could go to my board and find out if that's actually what happened. But that kind of gets the juices flowing there. If I could get that for my property without having to put and go through the construction mess and everything else. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've contemplated it myself.
Yeah,
My neighbor's
yeah.
house sold for a lot and I was like, but where do I go?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
I don't know where to go. Or I went, yeah.
That's the same way, all right, if I sell mine, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna be
I'm not
homeless
gonna-
real fast.
And that's
You're gonna be homeless real fast.
Yeah.
That's part of what the gridlock is with the supply and demand issue. We've seen the sellers actually list their house contingent on them finding a property and closing on it successfully. So that is an option.
Well, that's what I would do anyway.
Yeah.
Or if you're not interested in buying another home and you're ready to go to apartment type setting or senior community or something like that, then
It's an ideal situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could add, I mean,
Yeah.
Sorry, getting a good realtor to be understandable and know what the comps are in the neighborhood are gonna be step number one before we ever list. So that way, if you go to do a repair, do any work, have them just pull comps, see what the neighborhood's doing. Because a lot of times, depending on the areas, and there are hard lines in the city where that side of the street, no, I'm not saying your example, but there may be one side that subdivision is higher than this one or not, or vice versa because of taxes or whatnot. So that's something to start with. Have a good realtor that knows the area, not just somebody who's being realtors, but someone who knows the area, knows the comps, understands that. Because most transactions, whenever they go through the process, get the inspector out, negotiate, it's like 5 to 20 grand on average. What we see that the seller is paying for the buyer to negotiate on most things. And that's wide across the board. If it's a credit, if it's a repair that's immediate, like radon or mold or whatever. So I would definitely have a realtor pull comps, and to your case, just see what makes the most sense, because they've been around other homes in years. They kind of know what the trends are. HGTV has kind of ruined a little bit of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it's, you know, shiplap and you can move a wall for $400.
Is no longer.
Well, yeah. But I still hear about it.
According to
I still hear
HTV.
I still hear it. So people are like, I want to shiplap. I'm like, stop it. So, you know, they're always flash like, you can move a wall for $400. No, you cannot. So, you know, it's made for TV. It's entertainment. So anyway.
You hear that, guys? HGTV is not real.
Can we say that one more time?
HGTV is not real.
Entertainment.
Let's say it again as a group. Laura, you had a comment.
I just had a comment that like I get postcards and letters from realtors
Yeah.
wanting to buy in my neighborhood. So that seems different than an investment.
A lot of realtors are investors, and there are approximately 9,000 real estate agents in central Indiana and approximately 2,000 listings currently. So you can do the math. We're desperate for listings, and some people will do about anything to get a listing. So, but there are realtors who flip, Airbnb, things like that. And I know in your neighborhood, you probably have rental restrictions, but
They may have a buyer
yeah,
that wants to be in your neighborhood.
that
So
too.
that's what I wondered, because I did friends who wanted to.
Lisa,
Yes.
it's very hard to hear the audience. It's very hard to hear the questions. Could you either repeat? Is there a way? I've got my volume up as far as it'll go.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that feedback. We'll repeat the questions. So what we're on right now is Laura from Westminster just was mentioning that she's getting postcards from realtors in her neighborhood who want to buy her property.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yes, ma'am.
4 houses on my street have sold in the last year, and I think only one was remodeled, and they all went for almost exactly the same price.
Yeah, so 4 houses in her neighborhood went for about the same price. One was
I
remodeled.
think one was remodeled, only one of the 3
Yeah.
that I know of.
Yeah, so that speaks to our point that right now, again, this will change because that's what we know about the market, the real estate industry, it changes. But right now, if your carpet is orange shag and your walls are 1960s wallpaper, don't start replacing that stuff just to sell it. Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions on that? There always has to be something that goes wrong at these events, right? Like it's like a wedding, like nothing can go perfect.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I have a question. We had to have our home appraised. Are they pretty well on to what the price of the value of your home?
That's a whole other panel. So the question was, you had to have your house appraised?
The house is in.
Yeah.
Oakland, so we had to have it appraised.
Okay, so
And I had a number that he gave me of the value of my home.
yeah,
But how accurate do you think that might be? I don't know whether appraisers.
Yeah, so the question was how accurate are appraisals currently? First of all, it depends on what kind of appraisal you're getting. If it's for that, if it's to pull out your equity out of your property, if you're selling it and there's a buyer with a purchase agreement. So it depends on what type of appraisal it is.
I think it was for tax purposes, probably.
Yeah, I'm just saying generally,
Yeah.
speaking, it depends on, to get the value and to know whether, how close the appraised value is to the actual value. Appraisal shortages or low appraisals are really prevalent right now because buyers have to offer significant amounts over the list price just to get their properties, their offers accepted. And so an appraiser will tell you their job is to not control the market, but keep buyers from emotionally buying and paying astronomical, like over the value of the property. So on appraisals where there's a buyer and a seller, we're seeing a lot of short appraisals. It doesn't mean necessarily that the appraisal is not accurate. We say a house is worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. But if a buyer has a lender, they're going to have the house appraised, and that lender, in most cases, and that lender is only going to lend them what the house appraises for. So if there's a shortage, if it appraises, say, $10,000 under what the sales price is, buyer's going to have to come up with $10,000 in cash because the lender's not going to give them that money, or the sales price needs to be negotiated differently. So yeah, so to answer your question, it just depends on what type of appraisal you're getting. And also if you got that a month ago, your value is probably higher.
Could change anytime.
It's probably higher. Yeah, Sarah and I have met with sellers, and from the time that we meet with the seller and to the actual, and they're mostly people who are downsizing, and to the time that they actually list can be a little bit of time, because there's a lot of things that have to happen before we're actually ready to list their house. We do the sorting and packing and moving and liquidation of all the stuff in the house that they're not taking with them, and then have it cleaned and photographed, and then we're ready to list. So there's a little bit of a gap from the time that we actually meet with somebody and list, and we are constantly raising the sales price that we originally told them to the actual date, because the market has been changing so much. Yeah, so yeah. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience or Zoom or Facebook or YouTube? Okay, we are on question number 5. Oh, how do attendees request your services? What's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
For the people who are here, I have some business cards and a little brochure about who we are. In regard to Michaelis, like I said, we've been around 36 years. We're at 56 at Keystone, so you can find us at Michaelis is spelled like Michael is, so I-S. For those of you who don't know or listen to us too on Pat Sullivan on Saturday mornings, but for the Home and Garden Show. But yeah, you can call us. Give the number 317-251-1935 is our office number, and you can basically talk to the receptionist. You can talk to me today about what services you're looking to get, and then we can kind of plug into who it's me or somebody else. And then you can check us out online too. We have a very heavy presence in Indy.
What about if somebody were to come out and give somebody an estimate? What's the cost of that?
No cost. So if you have us out, we don't charge for the inspection, the estimate. We do ask whenever you go to sign the contract that there's an exchange of money. We usually ask for 50% depending on the cost. If it's insurance, it's a little different. And part of that is because usually there's funds being weighted, being sent from the insurance company. So we, 9 times out of 10, most homeowners are only going to have to pay out their deductible unless they choose to upgrade and, do things along the way, because, whenever you have a water loss or a tree hits your house, that's a better time to start doing upgrades at that point in time. Just on that side note, materials are really wonky right now. So just be aware, don't come in with, we said this earlier, but shiplap or one thing, think of 2 or 3 different items realistically. Because flooring, paint is a nightmare, cabinets, countertops are a nightmare, roofing is a problem. So there's very, very, very limited selection right now that's not available, and it's just not, manufacturers cannot keep up. So just cognitively have that.
Yeah, the craziest things are in short supply right now. I have a client who is building a house and she's got temporary appliances and she doesn't have all her light bulbs because they can't get light bulbs. Like just the stuff that you wouldn't even think of.
Hardware for countertops.
Yeah, see, so if you have a home improvement project in mind, you're probably going to need to lengthen your time frame in terms of your goal and having it done.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, we're short on, outdoor units, indoor units. It's hard to get. I don't know if it's the shortage of them actually making it or shortage of, factory workers or what it is, but there's a shortage of everything. I put in front of you guys, just a folder with a pamphlet in there about our maintenance agreements, the discounts that you get for being a preventative maintenance program, a maintenance program. I don't even know what the word is.
Say it 3 times
Customer,
fast.
I know. Our phone number is on there also. There's a business card inside there for our sales team. Our installation quotes are free as well. And like everyone said, just if that is something that that you need, make sure that you call at the time so that we can make sure that we have the products available for you.
Hi, before I tell you how you can get in contact with us, I'll tell you how we're applicable to your situation if you're already homeowners. A lot of the deals that are happening are as-is transactions right now. So where we help with you guys, we do a lot of pre-listing inspections. That way you know what condition the house is in before you list. Why that's important is just to give a quick example, at least 2 to 3 times this week, I've looked at houses for buyers that were as is. We found major structural, termite, plumbing, and electrical issues in these houses. And 2 of the 3 deals that I looked at fell apart because the buyer backed out because it's as is and it's in bad shape. So I know it's not the most ideal thing to hear about all bad stuff about your house, but if we come through and we find something that you can fix on your terms for perhaps a little bit less expensive and do it now and get it out of the way, you can list your house confidently as is, knowing that when the inspector comes out for the buyer, because that's still going to happen, that they're going to come up with a few little things that they're not allowed to ask for. They're going to take your house and the transaction is going to be seamless. So with that said, I'll leave my contact info. If you guys need any services, we can certainly help.
That's a really good point, and I'm glad Christian brought that up. So selling your house in as-is condition doesn't mean that you're just gonna cruise right through the transaction. If a buyer is buying your house and there's an as-is addendum attached to the purchase agreement, all it means is that they're not required to ask you to make repairs before they back out of the transaction because they had a home inspection and it scared them and there were too many repairs to be done. On a normal purchase agreement, they have, let's say, 7 days to have the home inspection. If there are things on there that are considered major defects, they can come back and ask the seller to make those repairs. And if buyer and seller can't come to an agreement, then at that point they can wash their hands and walk away. And in some cases they would get their earnest money back. But in as is, they're not required to do that. They have a set number of days depending on what they put in that addendum to have the home inspection. And if they find something, then they can say, ooh, it's too much. Typically it doesn't happen though. If we get to that point in the purchase agreement, even though they have an as is addendum, the other realtor, the buyer's realtor, will usually come back and say, oh, we know, it's an as is, we just had the home inspection and there are whatever, the sump pump's not working and there's signs of water in the basement and we'd really like the seller to replace the sump pump or something like that. They usually do come back, but they're not required to. So Christian's right. If you're as a seller, If you really want to know the things to repair in order to have a smooth transaction, have a home inspection. Now the home inspector is on your side. They're working for you, not the buyer. So it's a little less of a sting when they go through your house and tell you, the things that are not working properly. Than it coming from a buyer or a buyer's agent saying, we want you to repair this 2-page list of things before we move forward with the transaction. And Christian has a really great website. We typically order ours online. It's really easy. Just put some details about your property in there, and then you get an email or call from their office. And HomeSense, you can call them and an actual person answers the phone. You usually don't get a recording. I think it's the same with Michela's too. Yeah, so.
I know.
Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions. One, I like some opinions from you guys on these home warranty systems. And my second question is, I've used Michela's years and years ago. Very pleased with the work. Actually, I know a couple of people that used to work there. A friend of mine was telling me he had his ductwork done. I live in this house for 22 years and another house for 31. And I had never had ductwork cleaned. I'd like some info on that.
Yeah, we could definitely do that for you. Just I'll give you my credit before we leave.
Okay.
We did have a question from one of the Zoom attendees about the pre-sale inspection, Christian. If we do a pre-sale inspection, does the seller have to fix the stuff discovered? So.
No.
You guys all get that? Sorry, I know the microphone is.
No.
There you go.
Well, let me expand on that. You don't have to fix anything. And at the same time, we give you information about every bit of the house, from heating, cooling, electrical, plumbing, windows, siding, roofing, and structure. You're going to get information. You don't have to act on any of it. Even if you have an older house that we have possibly some suspected lead-based paint, that's built before 1978, people will ask, do I have to disclose? Not just, do I have to say something? Well, you don't have to tell anybody about the condition of your house. And the only way you would have to disclose something would be if you were foolish enough to test for radon at a pre-sale. Then you would have to, and it came up high and you didn't fix it, you would have to tell somebody you have high radon in the disclosure. Same with lead-based paint. We're going to tell you that there's peeling suspected lead-based paint, but unless you test for it, you still don't have to disclose that. It's just information to you. So everything will be verbal information. If we find suspected asbestos, suspected peeling lead-based paint, it's just information. So don't test for radon. Don't do a specific lead-based paint test. Let me tell you, I think it's there, and then you can scrape and paint it on your own. And then it's just information.
Because those 2 items are not huge, those are not big ticket type of item typically. I mean, if the whole house has lead-based paint all over it, that might be an issue, but a radon remediation system is not an expensive add-on. Nice. All right. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sometimes if you have just a small job to do, it seems difficult at times to get on priority. This is kind of going to be an endorsement for Michela's.
Uh-oh.
2 or 3 years ago, I had a door that goes into the crawl space, and it's been there for like 30 years, and it just didn't work anymore. So I called Michela's, had them come out. They did the estimate, and the work was done within a couple of weeks, including having to enlarge the cement opening by about an inch to make the door fit. And the whole thing was done in a couple of hours, and I think I paid about $300 for it. So it was a great job.
Yeah, that's great. Free estimates. Did we all say, did you guys say, okay, free estimates? Yeah. I mean, well, I mean,
we don't really have estimates.
Yeah, the price of the home inspection.
Your home inspection.
Yeah.
You decide if you want one.
Yeah. The add-ons, when he was talking about the radon test, and if you wanted termites, those are all add-ons, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of termites, if you are selling your house, or if you're a buyer and you happen to be if you're a veteran and you're using your VA benefits, or you have a buyer, those are really great loans, by the way. The seller is required, VA requires the seller to pay for the termite inspection, which is $50. Is that right?
50 to 150.
50 to 150. I just had a closing and it was on there credited for $50, so that's why I had that in my head. But so it's a minimal cost. Questions? Yes.
What is the range of, I know depending on the size of the home. But
Oh, sure.
what is the range of the home?
Question was, what is the range of the cost of the home inspection? Just tell them the
It
difference.
is a pretty wide range, but figure in the ballpark, if you have kind of a normal size house, 3,500 square feet, somewhere around $350, $400. It could be a little less, could be a little bit more.
A small investment to make at the beginning before you're listing your house, just to get, the scope of things. Okay, we said how do attendees request your services. So now we're gonna just open it up to general questions. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Okay, I'll get you right after her. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
How important is the condition of your driveway?
How important is the condition of your driveway? That's a good question. I'm actually getting my driveway done this year. Yeah.
Home inspectors are not supposed to look at the condition of a driveway unless it is readily affecting the house. I'll give you an example. When you have a poor concrete driveway, as they age, the surface comes off, it's spalling, and then you see the aggregate underneath. It can be cracked, settled, displaced, and have the aggregate showing. All of that's normal wear and tear.
Okay, so it isn't really.
Yeah, I mean, you might get a cowboy that's wanting to document cosmetics like that, and it's not right, it's not appropriate. So if you find yourself in that situation where a buyer's asking for you to report the driveway because it's showing normal wear and tear for the age of it, don't do it.
What about a trip hazard? Yeah, that
It's
comes
not
up.
a trip hazard because it's a driveway, it has to be the walkway.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, yes, ma'am. Okay.
Skip question number 3.
Did I?
About prioritizing.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? Question number 3, I know, get it together, Lisa. What maintenance or repair should homeowners prioritize? And you kind of touched on that when you were saying it kind of gets difficult to prioritize. So in your minds, what would be a priority? You kind of answered it a little bit.
What's the context? You're living there and not selling, or you're living there and thinking of selling?
Question.
Right,
The answer will be very different based on your answer.
For the purposes of this event, we'll say you're living there and you're thinking about selling in 1 to 3 years.
Session, know what you're looking at collectively. With short answer, you might have an idea in your head of what you think would be a priority, or what somebody might tell you could be a priority. But if somebody says roof and then heating and cooling, but the roof is new and so is the heating and cooling system, that's not on your. It's not impossible to answer, but the correct answer would be just look at the house collectively to figure out what that is going to be.
Good.
Condo.
Okay, she lives in a
Condo, no
condo.
exception. We inspect condos all the time.
Yeah.
I don't mean from a home inspection, you should inspect your condo or anything, but it's still a building, even when you don't own the roof and the outside, you own the physical windows and doors, the heating, the appliances. You can come through there and see a big moisture stain and biological conditions on the kitchen ceiling from a leak at the master bath. That would become a priority since it's a condo where you own inside things. That would stop to a buyer. The buyer in your situation, a buyer is going to know exactly what I'm telling you, that they don't own the roof and the outside. So their inspector is going to tell them to focus on, the inspector for a buyer is going to focus on the condition of windows and doors because they know that their client owns them. Appliances, indoor plumbing, the condition of showers and baths.
A lot of people ignore an older shower installation that's got a tile floor and it's weeping through the ceiling and you think it's a simple stain and it's a whole shower tear out. That would become a priority if I was there and advised you on that, if I found that condition. So just again, the short answer, any building, know collectively the condition of the building. And in your case, sometimes knowing the condition of the HOA. I just ran into one.
I was just ready to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll let Lisa talk about that.
Well, I was just gonna say, specifically with condos, and we've had this happen recently within the last 6 months, get on the HOA, go to the meetings, know the financial situation of the HOA. If your HOA is $125 a month, that's probably not enough money. We almost had a deal fall through because the HOA was not healthy enough and they had deferred maintenance all over the outside of the building, rotting wood, roof leaks that caused a biological situation in the attic. And the buyer happened to be somebody who's really sensitive to air, the quality of the air. So we had to get a hold of the HOA, and only to find out that it's not a healthy HOA, and somehow we made it through that. But you need to know the situation financially of the HOA. And if it's not healthy, then I would tell you to advocate for it to get healthy. I know everybody freaks out when they're, oh, we're going to raise our HOA and I'm on a fixed income. Well, in the end, it can actually cost you more if you're not advocating for higher HOA that would allow to maintain the outside of the building properly. Yeah, is that what you were going to say? Something like that? Yeah, HOA. Did you guys want to answer any part of her question about prioritizing?
It's very subjective, so it just depends on what you're planning on doing in the next, immediate or long-term situation. A lot of it just comes down to what's the oldest piece of what's going on, on the outside, the siding, is it the foundation, is it the roof, is it the refrigerator that's still there for 30 years, does it have issues on the back? And it's kind of a subjective question because, if you're not going to sell, it's your house, it's your money, it's your castle. You do what you want to do within reason. And then if you're going to sell, then get with a realtor, get with an inspection company. You can have us out. We can all kind of collaborate and kind of say, these are what we see. But instead of throwing money at something, if you're going to list, have them look at it and just say, these are the things that are going on in your neighborhood. We're really hot about windows over here, or they're more concerned about the roof. Yeah, HOAs.
Same thing for us. Like if you're thinking about selling within a year to 3 years, we do home inspection or an inspection on your indoor and outdoor unit. We'll let you know if it's on its last leg, if it still has 5 years, 7 years, so that you can kind of prioritize whether or not you want to even let the new buyer know, hey, this is in tip-top shape, or you've probably got a year or two less before you need to replace it. If you're going to stay, I would prioritize a maintenance program. Just having it, thoroughly inspected in the spring and in the fall, not only for your air quality, but for your peace of mind, knowing that if it's cold, you're going to have heat, and if it's hot, you're going to have air.
Speaking of maintenance programs and HVAC, I had a client who had a company out. I'm not going to say the name, but they had a company out and they went through their sales pitch, not HomeSense. They went through their sales pitch, and before they knew it, they were signing some documents. The next day, their entire system was yanked out of their house, and they had themselves, I think it was about a $21,000 to $25,000 unit that they were quote unquote renting. They signed a lease agreement for HVAC. And so fast forward 1 year later, we listed their house and they still owed like $18,000 to $20,000 on this unit. And that company, we went round and round in circles with them. They contacted an attorney, they got an attorney involved. there were issues with the contract, but ultimately, they sold them something. They thought they were getting something that they weren't. They didn't understand it was like a lease. But there was no, like, if you end it early, like if you sell your house, obviously they're not going to come in and remove the leased HVAC unit because it's with the house. And a buyer is not going to take on that lease. They're buying a house which comes with the HVAC. They're not buying a house and then leasing their HVAC, which is what I tried to explain to this company. But the buyers ended up, or the sellers ended up having to pay that off at closing. They didn't get any discount on their lease, but based on the $5,000 that they had already paid for the unit over the past year. They didn't give them any credit that they were, nothing. I mean, and a normal HVAC system would not have costed that much for,
I got a
just
new one
two-story
for
house.
$3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah. So yeah,
We do not lease units. This is not a rent to buy.
no
It's
leasing.
like no leasing.
Yeah.
We do have
Apartments.
financing, but no, there are
Yeah.
rent to own, rent to buy leasing companies out there. HomeSense is not one of them. Like I said, we do offer financing if you need it, or cash discounts, that kind of thing, but never a lease. That's because you're basically paying 2 times what it's worth.
Yeah.
How could you lease a furnace?
I don't know. It
But-
was,
That even makes sense.
But
None of it, we tried.
for some people, and I will say that I have seen it before, for some people that are low income, don't have
like
the
if they need
money.
the special
It's just like if
financing
you're
for it,
going to
yeah.
buy a new car. Some of us can afford, a new car, no down payment. Some of us can afford a car with, minimal down payment. And some of us have to go to rent to own, or, buy here, pay here type of car lot. So it works for some people, but
just know
if
you're
you
gonna
own
have
a
to pay
home,
it
it's
off when you
probably,
close on the property, because
Yeah.
the buyers are not gonna take over your
And if you
lease.
don't understand the contract, don't
Oh,
sign.
Yeah.
it. Wait for somebody to look at that with you, because that was the situation.
Yeah,
just
they
really
didn't-
weren't sure what happened.
They just kind of, 2 people came in and they just kind of, like talked and did it. And this audience, by the way, you guys are a prime, target for those types of businesses. So I was going to say something else too, and I don't remember, I lost it. So it wasn't important. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Maybe I didn't hear the comment. You said that, ma'am, that you guys do duct work and cleaning and all that.
We do.
I didn't
Ductwork
hear the
cleaning.
answer to my other question about these home warranty companies.
Not worth it.
Okay.
Whoa, that
Wait,
was
the
quick.
question was about duct cleaning. HomeSense does do duct cleaning. They actually did mine recently. And then you wanted to know if a home warranty did anything. And Christian quickly answered, not worth it. I'm just replaying what happened for the Zoomers. Okay, why?
Just 21 years of hearing people have nightmare experiences with them. A few good, I've heard about 90% people say that they don't cover anything. And I've had maybe 10%, but the 10% say that it was the best thing they've ever done. But those percentages to me are not worth it. I'll pay as I go.
Yeah, I've seen that, that similar situation. So most of the time they figure out a way to not cover, home warranties figure out a way to not cover.
And there's prorating. If your AC goes out, it's older, they might give you $1,500 towards it. The other thing is you expect a service technician from her company to come out looking nice and proper. No, I've seen the service technicians roll up in a cab because they've had DUIs and they send them those sneaky people that we don't even know if they have a license. I've seen it. Yep. I have physically seen it. So
I won't name drop here or anything, but I've had this company probably 6-7 years, and I've used them twice because I didn't understand. The first time I got screwed royally by a newer plumbing company here in town. And I even drove by because they had just moved to a bigger building. They had signs on their, in front of their property. Plumbers wanted, no experience necessary.
That's scary.
Seriously, I have pictures.
Yeah.
I have pictures to prove this. And I had a run around. They sent a guy that he didn't know what the heck he was talking about. And the first guy said this, that, and the other. Well, he screwed me on because he didn't know what he was doing. And I went to having a plumbing company that I've used in the past.
Yeah.
They came out and I said, what did they do here? And they charged me an arm and a leg for it. And luckily, they helped me out on fixing their screw up.
Yeah, the question was about
I have
shady contractors.
the company, the warranty deal, and they covered it. And I've used this same plumbing company in the past, and they do a bang up job, because that's what I like about it is you can request a company in the past to do what you had.
Some home warranty companies do let you use your own contractors. There are lots of home warranty companies out there, and I would say do your research and ask for recommendations from people who have either had experience with home warranty companies or contractors or realtors. Some do, but a lot do not. They require you to use their contractors. And like Christian said, you just never know who's going to roll into your house.
The ones that do, usually you have to go through their people. And then if you get no success, their people again. Then if you get no success, then you're allowed to. Yeah.
It's like they just make it really difficult on purpose because their goal is to not have to pay for the fixed item. Yes, sir.
Some of the problems you're talking about with home warranties, if you read the fine print
Yeah.
of some of the extended warranties on appliances, if you get into the same issue.
Yeah.
You might or might not get anything back.
Right. Read the fine print. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not real good at explaining it, but you know, from your water line into your home, they want to have that covered. You know, if they're being.
Oh, yeah, this is a good point. So a lot of us live in Washington Township in 1960s homes, and some of us may still have clay tiles for our drain. And that's what you're talking about. And the utility company offers coverage on that.
Are you
Is it better to go through my homeowner's insurance program and get that covered? I don't know how to.
Are you asking about what Lisa's talking about with the sewer lateral between your house and the street, or the water coming in?
But we're responsible.
Okay, so the question just for the online audience was about it's called sewer lateral. Is that what it's called? The sewer lateral, the line from your house to the street. How do we get that? How do we get coverage on that?
So what you want to do is both. If you're in Marion County and under Citizens Utilities, they offer a utility shield for $19.95 a month. It covers water service coming in, which you also own, and then covers the sewer lateral going out. But it only covers up to, I think it's 3,000 or 4,000. It's one of those two numbers. And so if you have a $10,000 or $15,000 lateral, which is normally the price, I mean, 8 would be about the cheapest, but the bigger your yard and the lower the pipe is in the yard, the higher the bill. Let's just say you have a $10,000 lateral. I would get homeowners coverage for it because it's like $4 a month, but they want a $2,500 deductible every time. You can't pay more per month for a smaller deductible. So I would get utility shield for the up to $3,000 services and corrections where they would auger and make, those corrections. And if they came out and one day they said, well, it actually needs a whole new line, it's going to be $12,000, get on the phone with your homeowner. That way you have both. Double dipping, but you have both, and it would be smart. You don't want to be caught with that one, like musical chairs.
I live in Hamilton County.
Then get homeowners because we don't have it up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wondered, what that's.
Yep.
Thank you.
And a lot of the major items that you purchase for your home, your windows, your HVAC, refrigerator, stove, that kind of thing, most of those are going to have warranties on them, if you get them new.
Okay, open that and turn to channel 5. I think we finally, at the end of the event, figured out what is wrong with the microphones. We were on the same channel. You should just be able to click that. Yeah. All right. Maybe.
Well, it went all the way up.
I don't know. Anyway, okay, yes.
Yes, comment on kitchens. Right now they're advertising Kitchen Saver, where they don't replace the cabinets and they do the new fronts.
Yeah, reface.
And I had a company do that they're not in business anymore. But they were wonderful and it was way cheaper and it's absolutely beautiful. New countertops, new sink, everything, and it was way cheaper than doing a kitchen remodel, and it's absolutely beautiful.
And there are people that do that. I had mine done a few years ago, just painting the cabinets and changing the hardware.
Although they did the doors.
Yeah,
They
she's saying
even,
refaced
they
it.
even cut down my refrigerator. I always had to have a little refrigerator because I had this cabinet over the refrigerator. They cut it up. So now I can have a real refrigerator.
Nice.
And I mean, it was not expensive at all. It was, and they did a beautiful job.
There are creative ways to do those types of cosmetic things. And again, I would take Christian's advice and look at the whole scope of, you know, what's happening in your house, and then also determine how long you're going to live there, because that makes a difference. If you're going to sell tomorrow, obviously, you know, you're not going to have the time to do a bunch of things. So in this type of market, you can afford to sell, you know, without doing that. Yes.
Recently, two news broadcasters, business broadcasters, Stuart Varney and Cudlow, had both had features on the housing market reaching its peak, in part because of the economy in general.
Yeah.
And have you seen any of that in the Indianapolis area, greater Indianapolis area, where it's peaked or it's moving toward a peak?
If we pretended to know what was going to happen in the real estate market, we're just guessing and or lying, because we don't have a crystal ball, which obviously would make our jobs a lot easier. We know what we've seen historically. I worked for a builder in 2006 and got my real estate license in 2007. And we all know what happened in 2008, 9, and 10. I did a lot of short sales back then. And beyond that, starting in, I don't know, you know, it started to come back up. And I feel like we've been coming up for like 10 years. I've been telling people it's a seller's market. And I mean, what's happened with interest rates, they have increased. So it's going to balance out a little bit. But I don't think that we're good. In Indiana, we don't see like the super high hikes, peaks, like and low. Yeah, low valleys like that. I think in a lot of ways, also, these are like a lot of thoughts all jumbled in here, because we all talk about this in the industry right now. Like, can you believe what's happening? You know, in a lot of ways, we could have been correcting with the rest of the country because it's so cheap to live in Indiana. I don't know that California it saw the quick increase that we did. I got into the industry and the average sales price was like 125,000. Now it's reaching 300,000. And so in some ways it's correcting. And so we're not going to see prices, you know, just tank. But you are going to see a little bit of a shift in the market probably this year because of interest rates going so high. My interest rate in my house right now is 2.25. My brother has friends who got quoted recently almost 5%. So.
One other quick question. Karen wants to know who you use for your kitchen.
Oh, I can give you the name. I used a painter and they sanded everything and did it. It looks great, but if you have kids and dogs, it's not very durable, which is, you know, but yeah. So any other questions? Yes.
If a person is interested in putting their house on the market, are there documents like radon tests that I have that would be helpful for the realtor, you or?
Oh yeah, if the radon is not high, that would be helpful. Her question for the online audience was, if she's getting ready to sell her house, are there documents that she could present to a realtor or to a buyer that will be helpful in helping them make a buying decision? And yes, of course, any kind of transferable warranties, like I know roofers, you know, have a transferable warranty at a cost. that your HVAC documents, people look for those records all the time when they're touring houses. If you had a home inspection and it's favorable in your favor, that might be a good thing to put out. If it shows, you know, things and you've done all of the major repairs, you could list that and have all of the paid receipts out there for them. The more information that you can provide to a buyer, the better. But Sarah made a house live this morning, just like a tri-level with a basement, which is kind of, I guess, an exceptional type of house, tri-level with a basement. But do you know how many showings you have so far?
Yeah, it went live at 8:30 this morning and I have 9 showings today so far.
And there's a showing block until 1 p.m.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not even allowing anyone to come in until 1 o'clock today when the homeowner goes to work, so. Yeah, I know.
And I would say it's not in this immediate area of town, but it's similar to properties, you know, kind of in the Washington Township, Indianapolis area. So it's just people are seeing, you know, 20, 30, 40,000 or 40 offers on a property. And it becomes a nightmare to try to go through with the seller. So any other questions?
I have a question.
Thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Kathy. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Okay. I have 3 actually. First of all, very quickly, I need to know, how do I get, besides the panelists, how do I get a reliable repair person? The second question is, I need the folder or the information, if I can have it, of what has been passed out. And I got in kind of late, so I didn't get the introduction to the panelists.
No worries.
And then the third one is, let's see. No, I guess that's 2. That's it.
The Google Drive link is in the chat box. That has some of the handouts. And
Okay.
then if you like the folders that some of the panelists and sponsors brought, we can put a packet to you in the mail. You can, if you want to, you can go to the chat box and email Sarah or message Sarah directly.
Okay.
So nobody else will see it. If you want to put your first and last name and
yeah, that's fine.
Thank
you.
Yeah, we can pop something in the mail. And then what was the first question? Oh yeah, how do you find that reliable repairman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's one of our panelists is saying, look at the Google reviews, read through all of the reviews in detail. Yeah, good and bad. If you only see good reviews, that's probably a red flag. We all can't make everybody happy. You can ask like a lot of neighborhoods. I know in Steinmeier, we have like a neighborhood Facebook group and people are always asking for reliable plumbers, electricians, you know, all of that, just general contractors, things like that. So ask around and read reviews, get a free consultation, and just some of it is, you know, your gut feeling and how did that consultation go. And I had one gal who hired Michaelis. She comes to these either attending online or in person, and she got like three different quotes from contractors, and they were all pretty much in line, but there was one thing, one offer the other, and she ended up using Michaelis. But so get estimates from other contractors, and they probably, generally speaking, they should all be telling you something similar. Like if you had 3 realtors come out, their numbers should all be pretty similar because we're all looking at the same stats. A contractor's all looking at the same house. So if you've got 2 telling you that you need a new roof and another one telling you something, you need a new, I don't know, something, a new sink, you know, something's off there. So start asking questions. Realtors, we work with contractors all the time, so we're happy to pass along referrals. People that we have sponsors and our panelists, we've typically worked with them personally and shared clients. So they're vetted out too. You can be safe calling any one of these panelists or any of the sponsors for that matter. How's that? Did that answer your question, Kathy? All right. Any other questions? Or online or in person audience? Okay, Sarah's checking online. So we do have some drawings. We have some giveaways. If you didn't get your name in, my mom has the, oh, she passed, oh, there you go. Yep, okay. Can we take a moment just to appreciate our panelists and tell them thank you for their time? And thank you to our sponsors too. Again, be sure to go over, one of them has a free lunch, it looks like they're giving away over there. And Dave brought all of his Easter candy because he wants to get rid of it and see a plant over there. So be sure to go over there and check out their information too before you leave. Grab more food because I'm not taking those to my house. And we'll do the first drawing for Stacy Vanez with ClearCaptions. She always makes that basket and brings it in. She's like, she comes in, I didn't even see her. It was just here when we got here. So I, oh, okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
Wow, I'm gonna have to.
Okay, yeah, all right.
There we go.
All right. So the winner of the basket is Kathy Prusak. We will do, so we've got flowers. Thank you, somebody sent online. I'm gonna post a link to the feedback form for online members. Oh, you have it? Okay, and Sarah's gonna post it, and we will also give away a gift card for you all. There you go, there's the form for the feedback. And then in person, you guys have a feedback form too. Be sure to fill that out. We do read them. Barbara Bear, you win flowers. You didn't even RSVP and you won a prize. Cynthia Blassingham. Yeah, there you are. You can just take the ones there. I like to pour the water out and then take them in my car and then fill the water back up at home, but some people don't. So we can give a couple more away. Also, Eagledale Florist, there's a coupon at your seat there for a free flower. And those of you who have won flowers, you know these last for like three or 4 weeks. I don't know what she does to them, but they're really, really good. Georgia Ellers. Where's Georgia? There you go. And then one more. Dottie Renner. There you go. All right, guys. Thank you again to our sponsors and panelists, and thank you guys for attending in person and online. We didn't have too many mishaps this month, so I call it a success. Yeah, that was why we were on the same channel.